Hey everybody, this is Carla Alexander here with Keeping It Real. I want to tell you a story about where I believe my blueprint started for the old life that I shed before I created a new blueprint for the new life that I want. So I feel like it's important to really kind of give more of an understanding so that you guys clearly understand where I'm coming from, and try not too hard to argue based off of my fact, because no matter how a person likes or dislikes, agrees or disagrees with the way I've lived my life, it doesn't change the fact that I can't change it. It's still my fact. But I figure for some of you out here who love judging a book by its cover, you might want to understand the story first. So I'm going to give you the story.
Is it unpleasant?
Deeply.
Now, my mother raised my sister and I on her own. She did a lot of traveling. She went here, there. We lived in motels for a year. You know, one day we were homeless for I don't even know how long. My mother was a free spirit, and she tried really, really hard to find her dream. She tried really, really hard to go after it. I just don't know what happened along the lines. I'm never gonna understand because, you know, we've never had that discussion, but she was that person, you know. She made it very hard to be able to stay in one place. So we moved around a lot. And we did all of this together as a family. There was no man there to compare anything to. My mother was it for me. When we finally moved to New York, I was so white on the inside that
I walk into an art gallery. It's like, well, you know, it's like, I mean, leave me alone.
I got teased a lot. I got teased for the way I talked. I got teased for the way I dressed. New York is a different breed altogether. And I had a hard time adjusting. So, of course, what happens when you're the only kid on the block who feels so out of place? And you got one person who will take the time out to talk to you, you know, to actually befriend you.
My given name is Benjamin Buford Blue. People call me Bubba.
My name's Forrest Gump. People call me Forrest Gump.
Now this person, he was 6 years older than me. So when I was 13, he was 19. Okay? And he was Muslim. So I didn't understand what that meant. I didn't know what that entailed. It had nothing to do with me because I wasn't raised in that religion. But when I was 16, I was going through a lot. We had just gotten evicted again, and I came home with my friends and there was a padlock on our door. I can't even begin to tell you the level of humiliation that I went through, and everybody on the block knew it. And it was so hard for me to walk down this block knowing that we had just been evicted. We got all of our stuff stolen. Everything that I worked really hard for was gone once again. And this was at 16. So my best friend asked me to be his girlfriend. And I said yes, because I figured maybe he would help me. Like, he would be in a better position to be there for me than my mother, I guess I want to say. I loved him. Don't get me wrong. I loved him very much, but was I in love with him? Maybe I was. I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. But 2 years after that, I got pregnant. But he was already married in a religion that I had no clue about. And I only had his word. And he basically made it seem like it was not that big of a deal. That he was going to leave his wife, you know, that we were going to be together. Like, all these dreams that, you know, he had given me. I didn't know any different. There was nobody to tell me that he was wrong. So I got pregnant when I was 18. And that's when he told me that he was never leaving his wife was never leaving him, and that I was gonna have to get over it. And I was pregnant. I had no idea that everything that he was telling me was were lies. He had years to put into my head about certain things because we were just friends. So I got stuck because I didn't want to raise my child without a father. So I endured 7 years of abuse. I learned how to not say anything. I learned how to just be quiet and be as submissive as I possibly could. And I had to think back, why was it so easy for me? And then I remembered, this memory came up. The reason why it was so easy for me to just not say anything, just to be quiet, because the day my father told me that he couldn't love me the way I wanted him to love me because I looked too much like my mother, it became a competition with the world. Because that was the biggest blow that man could have ever given me. I can't remember if he ever even hugged me, but I can remember those words very, very vividly. They hurt. And that's where it started, because it's like, okay, well, maybe if I'm just quiet, maybe if I do whatever daddy wants, maybe he'll talk to me today, maybe because he used to love to ignore me. That was his way of getting me to do whatever it was that he wanted me to do. And I'm not talking about sexual, because my father wasn't a perv. I'm talking about just normal things. You want to hang out with your dad. You want to talk to your dad. Like, I had to earn that. And because he was an alcoholic, he was a mean drunk. So even through all of that, I tried. I took all the abuse that you would think an alcoholic man could possibly say. But because he was my father, he could do no wrong. All I wanted from him was his approval. All I wanted to know was that he loved me. And I never got that. So I manifested that ideal onto this relationship with the man who's already manipulative, already abusive. I had no clue that he'd already been spending years creating emotional buttons that he could push, he could control. And at any given moment, all he had to do was say the right words and I would feel like I was shit. It didn't matter what it was. He would tell me I was not pretty, I had a unique beauty. He forbid me to wear any other clothes other than extra large. So I got used to wearing extra large clothes to hide my body. I mean, the only thing I didn't do was walk 3 feet behind him, but I pretty much did everything else. I learned to feed him and his family first, then the kids eat, then, I eat. So when I ended up with my last relationship, I was only a year out of a very, very toxic relationship. And that was the first time I can honestly, safely say, I fell in love at first sight. Now, it was easy for me to be able to say, well, okay, when I finally did find out about his girlfriend, to stay. Because I was so in love with him, I didn't want the feeling to go away. Because I had already spent so many years being this ugly female that couldn't do anything, was stupid. All she could do was cook, and she couldn't do anything else. And any dreams, that she had were worthless because she was nobody. I had to live with that image because the man before this one, all he wanted to do was just try to break my spirit.
Who you think you is? You can't curse nobody. Look at you. You're black, you're poor, you're ugly, you're a woman, you're nothing at all.
Till you do right by me, everything you even think about gonna fail.
And when I finally was able to get away from him, of course I attracted the exact same kind of man. And because I was so in love with him, I couldn't walk away. And when I realized I was in love with him and I knew I was gonna stay, that was probably the saddest moment of my life, because I knew it wasn't what I wanted, but I wanted that man. and I just couldn't walk away from it. I just couldn't. So I'm not proud of my role as the other woman. And yeah, I stayed a long time because I had children. My first relationship, I was terrified of him. But the second one, I stayed because where was he gonna go? I was already used to a certain way. So it wasn't until I lost my mother that I truly felt it.
My soul is tired.
And the thing about losing a parent that raised you, who's your best friend, who's always been there for you, when they die, you lose so much of yourself. You lose so much of yourself. I was dealing with not only my brother dying, but my mother dying 3 weeks after my brother. And then my grandmother dying 5 months after that. All while I was pregnant by myself because the father couldn't handle me being pregnant because his girl was pregnant. So yeah, I had to deal with all of that by myself, all while trying to raise 4 children on my own. You talk about glorifying. There's nothing glorifying about being the other woman. I'm not glorifying in the fact that I'm probably jaded for the rest of my life. There's no glorifying in knowing what men actually want, because when you become the product of that desire, it's not a fun feeling to go home by yourself. It's not a fun feeling when all you want is to be loved and have already designed yourself to say, you know what, you just don't deserve it. But you can be the loving. You can have enough love for everyone and still not feel any love for yourself. There's no glorifying in that. But I take my responsibilities, I take my part, and I share my stories because I want other women to understand that there's so much more out here. And if you were like me, if you're stuck in an abusive relationship, if a guy got to you when you were a young age and manipulated you, whatever the story is, you can rise above it. Now, for the females out here who don't agree with me or agree with my lifestyle or even respect it, I respect that. That's not a problem. You are entitled to your opinion. But understand something. Arguing with other people about my life isn't going to change that it's still my fact. I still went through it. You don't have to respect it. You don't have to like it at all. But you cannot change it. And you cannot shut me up. And I am going to keep sharing my stories for other females out here who feel or have felt just as broken. Like there was nobody to help them get through probably one of the worst phases of their life. Well, guess what, boo? I'm here now. So whether you like what I have to say or not isn't going to change that. But I felt like you might have needed a little bit more of the story before you continue to throw words around that have absolutely no meaning to my life at all. Because trust me, boo, there's nothing glorifying in a situation where you love a man so much, that you would literally not even think about the struggle that you'll have to go through just to be able to keep him as financially secure as possible. To sit here and give up your plate of food for him when you don't have a lot. That's how much I love that man. There's no glorifying in that. I don't glorify in anything because I sit here homeless. I have no job. And I have no idea where I'm going. And I have nobody to help pull me out this little hiccup that I'm in. Nobody. So I have to deal with that consequence. This is my life. And I'm going to take it in stride. So do me a favor. You can come up with any other words you want to. And you can continue to come at the people on here as much as you want. But you will never be able to change my fact. sorry. So for the person that, and I'm sure she knows who she is, or maybe it's a he, but I'm sure she knows who she is. If you want an even more in-depth look into my life, I have a book on Amazon. I'll put the link down here for you so that you can actually read the book. You know, as if you really want to get to know the true story before you start, you know, criticizing. But for all you other wonderful people out here in the world, yes, I do have a book. It's called I Am Who I Am. And I will put the link at the bottom for you so that you guys can get an idea, you know, a little bit more in depth of my story. Now, like I said before, this isn't a love story. There's no happy ending, but it doesn't change who I am. And as long as I'm out here trying to mentor other females who have gone through similar situations and who are feeling so lost, there's nothing for you to say. Clearly, my lifestyle doesn't agree with your lifestyle. So do me a favor, just move on. That's all you have to do, move on. It's easy. It's easy. So that I can get to the females that really do need my help. The fact that I had to make this video just for you means that you're demanding too much of my time. But it's okay, because I do understand everybody's entitled to their opinion. Now, what you're probably gonna do is you're probably gonna respond to this video. But you know, when you do respond to this video, it's only gonna be coming from your ego, because you literally have nothing left to say. You've already said that you don't respect my choices. You've already said that I'm glorifying and being the other woman. Yo, so I got it. You can move on now. There's no reason to respond to anything, but you probably will. And you know what you're gonna do in the process? You're gonna build up my viewers. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. You guys already know what to do. Just like this video, share it with somebody that you might know who's going through some pain and they don't feel like they have a way out and they just don't know who to turn to. Believe me, I've been there. I know how frustrating it is. I know how scary it is, but I promise you, you can do it. You have a strength inside of you that you just don't know is there. And when you finally find her and you finally bring her to the surface, I promise you, it's gonna be so much better for you. This is Carla Alexander here with Keeping It Real. Don't forget to share the video if you guys know of anyone. Don't forget to like it and don't forget to subscribe. And I do apologize for not getting up my videos weekly like I wanted to. It's just that I'm in New York right now. I'll be back in Georgia tomorrow. But you guys already know I'm going through an eviction, so I've already packed up my stuff and let's see what happens from there.